may lie for Mercedes. But again, excellent suggestion with Nico Hulkenberg. Excellent suggestion with Alonso to Mercedes. Now we're going in a bit of an unconventional order. How about Haas? What are you thinking on their side of things?
Haas, I think I'm quite confident in this one actually. I think Haas will stay with Kevin Magnussen. I think he's shown loyalty to the team. He's confident in that car. They're confident in him. You know, he's been there for since the beginning, pretty much. I think it's there's a risk for Guan Yu Zhou.
Mm,
I don't think he will make it to the next season. So I am not going to say him for the Haas seat. Instead, I'm going to say a driver who could definitely benefit from being in the Haas team and who can go on to do great things in the future. And as seen from last week, definitely has performed. And I'm
yeah,
going to go with Ollie Behrman.
yeah. That would have been, I think I've gone for actually the same. But I think Magnussen gets displaced. I think it's going to be
Okay.
Hulkenberg and Behrman.
Okay.
I think, obviously we saw a remarkable drive from Magnussen last week in Saudi Arabia. Obviously also a remarkable drive from Ollie Behrman. But Magnussen has not provided the results that I think were expected of him at Haas. And I think Nico Hulkenberg really has. Not obviously he's been, shackled by the car that he's been given, but from what he's been given, I think he's done an astounding job. I think they'll want to hold on to him. I think this is his retirement home. Um, and I don't think that they're going to want to, you know, with this management restructuring, I can see how it might be a better idea, or it might be a more sensible idea to hold on to these two experienced individuals. But I think they're going to take a risk at the end of the year. They're going to have seen what they've seen, and they're going to go with Behrman. And I think Magnussen gets displaced. I don't think he retires, but I think he gets displaced. I don't think he's going to any other team. I think that he'll probably head on to something like, maybe follow his former teammate Roman Grosjean to NASCAR, maybe WEC, who knows? But yeah, I think Magnussen is, this is his last season in Formula One.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Mm, it's difficult. I would like to see Magnussen at another team, but I don't know if he fits in. I don't know if he fits any sort of puzzle pieces right now. Um, but yeah, again, we'll see at the start of the next year. Now on to AlphaTauri. Who, Amish, is filling the AlphaTauri? What am I on about?
Racing
Racing
bulls.
Bulls,
Racing bulls
lovely.
now.
Racing Bulls. Sorry, I'm speaking English. Who is filling the Red Bull second team?
I haven't actually put too much thought to this one, you know. I think there's a lot of not turmoil, but I think there's just a lot of distractions in the team at the moment, and something about their performance recently has just shown a lack of stability in the sport, you know. And I think changing the drivers can definitely help reshift their focus, you know. But I think they're going to stick with Sonoda and Ricardo
Mm.
because I think they're confident with where they are. In Sonoda, getting used to the car, trying to prove himself, and I think this Racing Bulls is definitely a place to keep Sonoda to develop as a driver. And I think um, a low pressure environment is definitely good for him. And as for Daniel Ricciardo, I'm not really sure who else could step up to Racing Bulls. And I think the Red Bull team as a whole, both Red Bull and Racing Bulls, I think they're quite confident in letting Ricciardo just stay at the team.
Mm. See, I take a bit of an issue with that. I agree with Sonoda. I think they're going to give him, more time to develop fully as a Racing Bull driver, or Racing Bulls. Um, but I'm not sure. I'm not sold on Daniel Ricciardo. His career has frankly taken a nosedive since that um fifth place in the Drivers' Championship in 2020. And I think we're looking at somebody who, for all that this pains me to say, is on the way out. I think it's going to be a, Daniel Kvyat-esque divorce. I don't think there's going to be any harsh words, but I think it's going to be, Daniel Ricciardo moving on to other things at the end of the year. And to answer your, query about who might step up, I think that the answer lies in 2023, oh sorry, 2024 Red Bull uh, replacement driver or reserve driver Liam Lawson. He took 2 points in 5 races at AlphaTauri last year, whilst in the same season as finishing second in Super Formula, and then the season before that, third in Formula 2. And this year, 2024, he's shifted his focus and become a full-time reserve driver at Red Bull. And I think that's a sign that he's getting used to the car in order for a big move for him that may be coming up into the sport. Um, I think he sets himself apart from somebody like Nick De Vries in the fact that, he's surrounded himself with actually quite bitter competition. So, obviously Nick De Vries, um, his campaign in Formula 2 was excellent. Moved on to Formula E, which some would argue is a less competitive field, but Liam Lawson has kept up with the young guns in the sport, and I think really he has an opportunity now to take an AlphaTauri, oh sorry, Jesus, Red Bull, Racing Bulls, RB, Visa, Cash App. I think he has an opportunity to really take hold of that drive and even maybe surpass Yuki Tsunoda in that. I think he's proved his talents over the last few years, and I think now's the opportunity. What do you think, Amish?
I think that's a reasonable response. I think I'll be honest. I think I'll if I could change my prediction, I would go Liam Lawson now that you told me about him. I think I completely slept on him at the moment. I completely disregarded his talents in the 2023 season. He stepped up with a lot of confidence coming from a different racing series. And I think he definitely has a lot to prove. He's still quite young, and I think, like Yuki Tsunoda, Racing Bulls is a pretty good environment for him to be in at the moment.
Agreed. I think Liam Lawson, yeah, I think now's his time to shine. I think he's really going to step up now. And I think he's shifting into that position in order to do so, giving himself a year to really, get the reps in. Williams next. Williams. Now, my one might be a bit controversial. I want to hear yours first, Amish.
Okay, so I'm going to go. Well, for the 2025 season, I think Alex Albon has a contract, so I think that he's going to be the first driver, definitely leading Williams as he has been. And as for the second driver, I think it's a driver that is getting talked about a bit more. He's definitely a young driver, um, and I think he's shown a lot of talent in recent years, stepping up to Formula 2 this year, actually. And his name is Andrea Antonelli. And
Mm,
a fun fact about this driver is that he is, I think, 2 weeks older than me,
wow,
which is crazy.
that's
That
wild.
is, yeah, it's crazy to think. So for the 2025 season, um, Andrea Kimi Antonelli will be
Yeah.
18, and I think he would definitely be allowed to race in Formula One because I'm not sure if you knew, but after Max Verstappen made his debut, the FIA made the age restriction for Formula One 18. So
Yeah. Does
none
he
of
have
the other
enough points?
drivers. Oh, that is a good question actually. I need to check.
I think he's doing a pretty good job in F2, so should
Yeah,
after that. Yeah, I think I think that's an excellent decision. He's been doing well in Formula 2 so far. I think to my knowledge, racked up a couple of top fives in his first few races. Um but I've gone for maybe a more sensible option. I think they give Sargent one more year, give him a Latifi treatment, one last year. If he makes, a significant step forwards, maybe keep him on. But I think 1 year is probably the max that they would go for Sargent. Kept Sargent and second driver, or probably the first driver, Sergio Perez. Sergio Checo Perez. I think that Williams's priority right now is having, sustainability and consistency. And I think in terms of the drivers that may be left open to them, Sergio Perez is probably the best option for that. I think this will be a retirement home for Sergio Perez. I don't think that he's going to get another drive after this, but I think probably disappointing season 2024 for him. That's my prediction. And then, in a similar way to sort of the Felipe Massa move, switches over to Williams and ends his Formula One career in reasonable comfort, no pressure, just get a couple of points now and then. And I think Sergio Perez is probably the best driver for that. What do you think about that, Amish?
I think it's not outrageous to say. I wasn't expecting it myself, but I think after what you just said, I sort of agree with you there. I think I like how you call it a retirement home for Sergio Perez. I think it's a nice way to end a career, just
Mhm.
like what Sebastian Vettel did going to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be some sort of expectation on him still. Otherwise, there's no point in having him in the team
Mm.
because they can have a younger talent
Yeah.
who's a bit more promising.
Yeah, James Vowles
When
has
I said,
expressed his sort of like, sorry, Amish, but he's expressed his like desire for Williams to be competitive, and I think as a former, as a race winner, Sergio Perez could bring that. So, Rob, what were you going to say?
oh yeah, no, I was saying, yeah, no, it's a reasonable choice. I think with Antonelli, Williams, the reason I chose Antonelli for Williams was because he has affiliations with Mercedes. He's in the Premier Power team. I have a confidence he will make it to F1 very soon, and I think Williams will basically be the next George Russell. I think
Yeah.
he'll go to Williams, learn how to be a driver, and show his talents. And then one day in the future, if my prediction is correct, Fernando Alonso retires from Formula One, leaves Mercedes,
Hmm.
Antonelli will be the one to step up.
That would be a pretty insane choice for Fernando Alonso to go out really at the helm of the sport. Okay, Alpine time. What are you thinking about Alpine? Both drivers out of contract at the end of the year. Any
Yep.
changes?
This is a tricky one for me, actually. I think I wasn't quite sure, but I think Alpine went into the 2023 season thinking that Ocon and Gasly would be a brilliant team combo. And I think, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think that worked out very well. I don't think they were as good as a duo as they expected it to be. But I think Alpine definitely need to keep one of the two drivers because they're both experienced, and I think it's essential to have at least one of them in the team. As for the second driver, I think Alpine are going to go with a little bit of a mix up here.
Hmm.
I think they're going to go with Jack Doohan.
Mm.
He is the F2 champion from last year, I believe. Yes, last year's F2 champion. He's definitely shown some talent. I think he has done FP1 testing in the 2023 season. So I think it's time for him to step up to F1.
Mm. I think I think ordinarily for Alpine, I would agree with you, but they have had so much turmoil over the past few years with all of the leadership changes, which have really just left them, well, they've left them languishing, really, the bottom 10th place. And I think not only that, but they've been shysted on multiple occasions by drivers who are sort of too feel like they're too good for Alpine. And I think they'll be hesitant, really, really hesitant to roll the dice on somebody new, especially considering those sort of external factors. So I think they're going to stick with Gasly and Ocon. Um,
Okay.
but I think that they're going to be very short-term deals indeed. And I think that soon enough the door's going to open. I think if not in the year in 2026, definitely in 2027, the door's going to open for Doohan, the door's going to open for Martin. And I think that is the driver pairing of the future. Jack Doohan